I want to read a passage from the book Alice in Chains, The Untold Story by David DeSola, where he discusses Layne and Demri's engagement. Quote, Demri's mother, Kathleen, did not know the specifics of when or how their engagement happened, but she says that Layne bought Demri a claddagh ring, an Irish design consisting of two hands clasping a heart, often surmounted by a crown. Kathleen recalled that Layne and Demri went to see her at the Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, where she worked, to tell her of their engagement, adding, quote, and then they had a big engagement dinner down at the old spaghetti factory. This is corroborated by Layne Staley's stepfather, Jim Elmer, who recalls that the two families went out to dinner to celebrate the engagement together. Wedding plans were made, though the engagement was eventually called off. According to Kathleen, Layne and Demri had chosen Kiana Lodge for the venue, a ferry ride away from downtown Seattle. Demri had even bought a wedding dress from a vintage clothing store in Pioneer Square. Layne Staley's close friend, Johnny Bacolis, remembers that one time while working at his father's Greek restaurant in the U District in Seattle, Layne Staley, Mike Starr, and Demri came to see him. Layne told him that they were engaged. He also recalls Mike taking a shot of whiskey and saying, I'm gonna be the best man. He's my bro. I'm gonna be his best man at the wedding. For his part, Johnny Bacolis assumed what Mike Starr was saying was true, given the fact that Layne Staley and Demri were right there. In terms of Layne's demeanor, Bacolis recalled, they seemed happy. It just seemed logical because he loved her and that was the next logical step. However, neither Jim Elmer or Kathleen Austin had ever heard that Mike Starr was going to be Layne's best man. It never got that far, Kathleen said. There wasn't a specific wedding date. There were colors picked out and nobody told them to me, but I do know that Layne and Demri were very happy at the time. End quote. According to various sources online, this was the actual engagement ring Layne Staley gave to Demri Parrott. This type of ring is called a claddagh ring. Claddagh rings originate from the Claddagh district of Ireland. According to ethnicelebs.com, Demri Parrott was part Irish and Layne may have been part Irish, though it's not clear if that's why he gave Demri a claddagh ring. In any case, claddagh rings have three distinct features: a heart which represents love, a crown which represents loyalty, and two hands which symbolize friendship. As of this posting, there's no definitive explanation, at least not publicly, as to why Layne chose this type of ring for Demri. It'd be interesting if one day Layne's reasoning came to light. Demri and Layne had planned to get married. Demri even had picked out a wedding dress. They were engaged in 1992. Now, unfortunately, the wedding never happened. They called off the engagement, though they remained an on-again, off-again couple until 1994. Sadly, but very symbolically, the location where Demri and Layne planned to get married in 1992 ended up being where Layne Staley's memorial service was held after he died in 2002. So where exactly was this location? To the west of Seattle is Bainbridge Island. Bainbridge Island has several connections to the biggest bands in grunge. For instance, Nirvana drummer Chad Channing and Soundgarden bassist Ben Shepherd are both from there. Just to the left of Bainbridge Island across the water is a small city called Poulsbo. They were going to have their wedding there at a local wedding hall. Now, I don't know if the wedding dress Demri's wearing here in this photo is the exact dress she picked out for the wedding. However, given the length of Layne Staley's hair, this photo had to have happened in either 1991 or earlier, maybe at most early 1992, because after that point, Layne's hair was much shorter. Given their engagement was in 1992, the timeline does seem to possibly add up, so this could very well be the exact wedding dress she was going to wear. Now, interestingly, Layne's bandmate Mike Starr apparently was going to be the best man at their wedding. Mike Starr having been the original bassist in Alice in Chains, who, unfortunately, like Layne and Demri, would eventually succumb to drugs.